All right, so this question says, find the equation of the line that passes through the points 2, 6, and 4, 10, okay? So the first thing that I always point out is whenever I see the equation of a line, all right, I know that they are meaning I need to write in the form y equals mx plus b. All right, and let's break down what that means. Y equals mx plus b. Well, m is slope, b is your y-intercept. So the two main pieces of information you need to find are a slope and a y-intercept in order to complete this equation. All right, so let's start with what we know. We know how to find the slope between 2 points, okay? The way that we do that is we do the change in y over the change in x, or you'll see me in a shorthand way write that triangle, which means delta or change in y over change in x. So let's do it. So we know that these ordered pairs, let's label what these ordered pairs parts are. And I'm going to encourage you while I'm doing this, if you haven't done this already, pause the video and get a piece of paper and work this out with me, okay? Work this out with me so that you can get that good practice and work alongside of me, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and get you a piece of paper. Okay, so write down your ordered pairs, 2, 6, and 4, 10. And what I always do is I label X, Y, X, Y, just so I know what number belongs with what group. So my first assignment is the change in Y. So that means I'm looking at only Y values. So I'm going to start out by doing 10, take away, because change means subtract, 6. Okay, now I should have written this just to remind you. So we're doing change in y over change in x. So I'm going to do 10 minus 6, so that's my y values, over, now I'm focusing on x values, so I'm looking at the 4 and the 2, and I'm going to take 4 minus 2. Now I want to point out that notice that 10 and 4 are here together, and 10 and 4 were in their ordered pair together. 6 and 2 are here together. They were in their ordered pair together. So make sure that your ordered pairs stack up with how you are writing your change in y over change in x. Okay? So 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. And remember, in math world, we always like to simplify. So a fraction is a division problem in disguise. So 4 divided by 2 is going to give me a slope of 2. So I've got that m part, I've got slope, but remember I need a y-intercept now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what I know, and I'm going to use the information they have given me. So I'm going to take my equation, y equals, and I'm going to draw a little line so you know that I'm starting a new step of the problem. So y equals mx plus b, and we're going to fill in what we know, all right? We know that, I'm going to get a different color so we can keep our cycles here. We know that slope is 2, okay? We know that slope is m, so instead of m, now I can write 2 because I know that information. Okay, now remember, our whole goal for this second part of the problem is to find the y-intercept. We don't know what it is, so I'm going to have to leave that as b, because remember, in math world, we leave variables where we don't know the answer to a number. A variable is just a representation of an unknown value. Okay, but then you may be saying, well, I don't know where a y and x is. But check it out where I have already written those letters in my problem. I've actually written it twice, labeled it here. So they've already given you x and y values. All you have to do is use the information they've given you. Okay, now you have to use one ordered pair. So that means I have to keep my x and y values together, okay? So I'm going to use this first ordered pair. So what I mean by that is, you see how 2 is my x value? Well, check it out. In my equation down here, I need an x value. So instead of x, I can now put 2. And I put those parentheses there because, remember, whenever 2 letters or a number and a letter are next to each other, that means we're multiplying. And I'm showing that we're multiplying when I put that 2 in parentheses as well. All right, instead of y, I can put a 6 because my y value was 6. Now, could you have used 4 and 10 for your x and y values? Absolutely. Now, what you can't do is you can't use 4 and 6 together or 10 and 2 because they didn't belong together in their ordered pairs. But you can use whatever ordered pair you prefer. Okay, now hopefully you notice that all we're doing is solving for one variable. We just got to find b. So I'm going to treat this like any old equation. All right, so first thing I need to do is multiply. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus b, because nothing's happened to that yet, and then 6 is still on the end over there. Now, we got to find what b is, so we need to get b by itself. So I'm going to take away 4 from both sides. 4 minus 4 is 0, so we say that that goes away. It doesn't really go away, it's just 0, but we don't have a reason to write 0 on the bottom there. We're left with b equals, and then 6 minus 4 is 2. So you have just found your y-intercept. Now, you're not done, because it's not as simple as just saying, oh, I found a slope, found a y-intercept, there you go. We've got to put it in that equation form like the question. Going back to what the question asked us, we've got to put it back in that equation form. Okay? So, we're going to say y equals. I know that my slope is 2, so I'm going to put 2 in for m. Follow that up with x, plus my y-intercept is 2. And there's your equation. All right. Now, I am going to do one more example with you, and what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to pause and let you work through some of these yourself. I'm going to encourage you to pause my video as I let you pause, and I want you to try and work this out yourself and just check yourself as I go through and give you the correct answer and give you the correct steps for solving, okay? So I'm going to encourage you to work through this one on your own and just pause it as we go. All right, so again, I'm finding the equation of the line that passes through the points. So you go ahead and write down what an equation of a line what form that would be written in. Okay, hopefully you wrote y equals mx plus b. I need to find two things. I need to find a slope, and I need to find a y-intercept. So let's work on that. I know that these points are x and y, so let's use them. To find slope, I'm going to do change in y over change in x. So I'm going to start with my y values. So you go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I'm going to start with 7 minus 3, because those are my y values. And then I'm going to do 6. Now be careful here. Take it step by step, because notice I'm doing 6. I'm finding the change, so I subtract. But I'm subtracting a negative 2. So don't forget, you need to have both those negatives next to each other. All right, you have to include both those negatives because we're finding the change, but it's also a negative number. Now, we do know that, okay, 7 minus 3 is 4, cool. But we know that whenever we have two negatives next to each other, that we can turn that into an addition problem. Okay, sometimes you'll see me just make those plus signs. So that gives us 8 on the bottom. Now remember, we need to simplify fractions because that's what we like to do in the math world. 4 over 8 is going to simplify to be 1/2. All right, so now I've got my slope, found my slope. I need that y-intercept. So think to yourself and think about what we're going to do for this next step. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that equation, y equals mx plus b. Well, now I know that m was 1/2, so I'm going to put that in there. I don't have a y-intercept, so I'm going to have to call it b. But I do have x and y values that they shared with me up here, so I can take my pick of which ordered pair to use, and I'm actually going to use the negative 2 and 3. Okay, so instead of x, I now know that I can say that x is negative 2. That's one of the x values that these points went through. And instead of y, I can put a 3. Now I'm solving this like any old equation. So 1/2 times negative 2 is negative 1. Still have plus b, and then that's still equal to 3. Okay, now to get b by itself, I need to get that negative 1 out of the way. Well, negative 1 is positive, so to get out of the way, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0, so I can go ahead and just mark that out. 3 plus 1 is 4. So I found my y-intercept. So now, ask yourself, do a little running checklist. Need two things. Need slope, y-intercept. Do you have those things? Yep. So we are good to go. We can write this in slope-intercept form. We can write the equation of our line. So y equals, instead of m, I'm going to put a 1/2. And then x plus b would be 4. And there you have it, slope-intercept form.